Well, hey dudes, welcome back to another one of my videos. So this is like a wooden box, I think it's for like cheese or something, and I wanted to use it and kind of put the diorama inside of it. That way it's kind of more like the lazy way of having nice sides instead of like adding plaster and stuff to make it look nice. So here is some foam that I wanted to use for some of the terrain. I tried to make it about the right size for the wooden box. It is XPS foam, I think it's called, and oh, there we go. Yeah, it fits okay. And I wanted to make kind of a cave opening or something. It's kind of like an excavation process. So I carved away at some of the foam, and I gave it kind of a rock texture by slicing at it, sometimes at an angle. It looked kind of like sandstone, I think, when I was done. And then I glued some of them together. Using hot glue. Sometimes hot glue will melt the foam, but I think it's probably better for foam than super glue in some cases. And so I made some more of that rock texture. I also used a flame and kind of tried to make a little path down like into the cave opening area. After clicking that lighter a bunch, I got out some materials for making some gooey stuff to put onto the foam. So I mixed up a plaster mix. I think it was plaster and paint, as well as some glue. And I mixed it up. I ended up adding some water too. The paint mixture I used made for a kind of a sandstone look for the base coat, and it also protects the foam from like water and stuff. Helps it last a little longer, I think. And it also gave a pretty nice base coat. I wanted to make a little hill or something there, so I used a piece of foam and a piece of bark and put some of that gooey stuff on there. Now I had also added some sand, using some glue and, well, some sand. And I was a little unhappy with how many rocks there were, so I was taking some off. Now this is some crackle stuff. I put it on some of the areas that I wanted some cracked ground effect. This is a 3D printed, I think, mammoth skeleton. I mean, I'm not sure if it looks much different from elephant skeleton, but and I wanted him to be the mammoth mummy. And there are some camels. And I cut out some strips of this tissue stuff, and I also got some Mod Podge out, and then I would put the strips in the Mod Podge or on the Mod Podge and got it kind of wet, and then I would put them onto the mammoth. And so I'd wrap them around and make it look kind of like a mummy. Now, I don't really know why there's a mummy mammoth thing. Just an interesting idea, I guess. And there was a little guy that I took out for the figure, and I gave him a white base coat earlier, and then I added some like yellowy color, make it look more nasty. And I also added some, I think like off-white to the tissue, which was kind of white already, but made it a little more solid white, or something. A little less overbrush from the bones was showing. And I also painted the camels. And so I painted most of the showing sand and stuff, trying to make it all kind of the same color. This is some finger paint. The brand that I used is a little translucent, so when I put it on and then I wipe off some of the excess, it's more obvious in the cracks and crevices. And I use that on some of that cracked ground effect. And I also dry brushed it. This is some wood, like little wood pieces, and I used some balsa wood as well as some random wood pieces and such. And I cut them down to size and scored them on some of them with lines to make it look like boards. And I wanted to make it look more obviously as like an excavation process. And I'm not really sure what they're all for. I guess if you want to go up to the top of the hill cave thing, I don't know. But it made it look more obvious that it was an excavation process. This is some piano wire, and I use that as a line going from a little water tank thing to that cabin. I drilled a hole in the side of the water tank, and I bent the piano wire to fit a little better. And look nice. This is some plastic mesh that I was going to use for some ladders. They're probably a little small for the scale of the figure and the mammoth and such, but they look nice. And I used some watered down paint and colored the wood. Sometimes the super glue is covering the wood, therefore it can't really soak in and it kind of looks different. So you might want to add a little paint on top of that afterwards. And I also dry brushed them. Some of them. And so I glued down the camels and the guy, which I had also painted the guy. And there's the mammoth. I guess kind of the idea behind this diorama is the guy was coming back after a day's work while everyone else had left, and he was going to leave the camels there overnight, tied to a post or something, and he came back and there was a mammoth coming out. I don't know, a little bit of a story there, I guess. And there is the box that I had spray painted black, and these little plexiglass sheets that I had also spray painted black. And so I put the diorama into the box. And I also glued on the plexiglass sheets to some of the sides, cleaned them up a little bit. And I think that could be a build completed.